interesting that Sue says that anything special you guys know about that we are doing to roll out the red carpet for JTT. I heard USC showed him LA from a helicopter ride, which I guess they were commenting, those are all the people down there that are going to be ignoring USC football in favor of the Lakers and Dodgers and everybody else, the NFL.
I'm going to assume they used a helicopter just because that's the only way to get around in LA, because you can't drive anywhere. So that's the only way to do it. And so I don't know that that's special. That's just necessary. Yeah, we got to get the helicopter.
It's too bad we don't have Kevin here to do his Schwarzenegger. Get to the chopper. Yeah, I found that to be really curious. But, when you have a city like Los Angeles, that is kind of cool. You go up in a helicopter and see all the sights in a matter of a 90-minute helicopter ride or whatever. I don't know what Ohio State and Columbus can do to top that. I don't think they have to. I think the opportunity to play at Ohio State, work with Larry Johnson, et cetera, to me, that's probably good enough. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. I think they got to have a great visit with him this weekend, and obviously he's going to finish up with his last two with Oregon and Alabama after this, and he'll make his decision on or about July 1st or 2nd or 3rd or whatever, and then it'll be off to the school and so on. So, I don't worry too much about it. It's I think Larry Johnson, very impressive person when you get to know him, and he doesn't lose many of these battles. So I think, I think Ohio State will put its best foot forward. As one of the commenters had on here, CJ Hicks, great ambassador for Ohio State, even though he's a year younger than JT, is committed and will be making his official visit this weekend. And my guess is they'll spend a lot of time together, and CJ will be talking to him about what makes Ohio State such a special place. And obviously Jack Sawyer will probably be involved as well, who's now been on campus for over 6 months. So, they're going to be fine. I don't worry about it. Hey, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So there it is.
Yeah, part of that red carpet rollout will be Ryan Day explaining Ohio State's name, image, and likeness plans. Another part of it will be them explaining, and Larry Johnson explaining, here's what Chase Young is making. Here's what Nick Bosa has made. Here's what Joey Bosa has made. Here's what their next contracts will look like, because they're still all under their rookie contracts, and the next contracts will be in the, the $100 million range. And this is,
I don't know if Joey has signed his second contract yet or not. I vaguely recall maybe he's on a second time deal, and he's making the big money now, I think.
Yeah, because it's 5 years. He had the team option for the 5th year, and so it's 6 years when all.
Yeah, I think he's on like a 5-year, $100 million deal or something like that, but I could be wrong.
Comment coming in from India. Hi, Mark. I'm an Ohio State alumni in India now since 2012. I love my team, but it breaks my heart when we thrash everyone in the Big Ten and then end up losing in the postseason to other conferences. Well, that's a loaded question, or a loaded comment. I would have to say, when you make the playoff just about every year, unless you win the national championship, you're going to be losing at some point, as they have, yes. Making other postseason appearances, they've generally won those games. Look at the Fiesta Bowl appearance against Notre Dame, the Cotton Bowl against USC, the Rose Bowl against Washington. Urban Meyer was on top of winning postseason games. So if you're an elite, you're going to play the elite in these playoffs, certainly as it stands right now with the 4 teams. But I understand what you're saying there. I don't understand necessarily the Big Ten portion of it as well, but it is what it is, as they say.
Ryan Day's next loss to a Big Ten team will be his first. So that's pretty impressive. In 2 years plus 1 game as a head coach, that Rutgers game in 18 went on his card as well. And then I was with, again, Tony's cohort, friend of mine, guy from Buckeye Scoop, and he's like, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 53 years, Ohio State's won 2 national championships, and the program is considered elite. And Alabama seems to win it every other year. Alabama, quite frankly, seems to be on a level of its own, with Ohio State and Clemson right there with them. Being totally honest with you all,
Alabama under Saban.
Under Saban, yeah. So Ohio State is considered elite with 2 national championships in 53 years.
There was actually an article in ESPN, and because it was the paid tier, I didn't read it, but basically, I don't know if you guys saw this the other day. It was on the college football page. It basically said, what's the best job in college football? And they narrowed it down to Ohio State and Alabama. But the way they represented it, it was basically Saban, and it was Ohio State fill in the blank, whoever the coach is, which is the better job. I think points could be made on both sides.
Look at the hires over the last 2 decades, and you get your answer on which is the better job, because Alabama has hired guys like Rich Rodriguez, Mike Price,
Mike Shula.
Shula. So, and then you look at who
Mike
Ohio State. You look at and
did Rich Rod really have that job for 3 days and turn it down or something? Is that what happened, or what was that?
I don't know if it was that long, but they hired him.
Dennis
Franchione left for Texas A&M, left Alabama, if I recall, for Texas A&M. A step up. And so then you look at who Ohio State has hired since Woody Hayes. They brought in Earl Bruce was National Coach of the Year, and John Cooper was a hot prospect who had beaten Michigan, and Jim Tressel 4 national championships, turned down Miami previously, and then you go and you get Urban Meyer, and even Luke Fickell in that 2011 season. Right now, every head coach they've had since Woody is a Hall of Famer. Luke Fickell is kind of on a trajectory for something special as well.
If they had held on and beaten Georgia, he'd be making $8 million a year somewhere right now. I don't have any doubt about that. So it could still happen for him next year. I don't know, but he kind of enjoys it. I think at Cincinnati, he's got his own fiefdom down there, and
he's different.
Yeah, he's different, wired different. And
look how long he's staying at Ohio State.
They put this playoff to 12 teams. I know we were going to talk a little bit about playoff. He's got an opportunity to slide into the playoff, if he's got the best team in the American, maybe every other year or every third year or whatever, and, get to the Final 8, get to the Final 4. That'd be a huge accomplishment. For Cincinnati to be a preseason top 10 team, that's unheard of. I mean, that's just uncanny. So
I say let's hold off on the evaluation of Alabama football overall as a program and the staying power of Alabama outside of Nick Saban, because that was a long gap between Bear Bryant's last game in 1982 and Nick Saban in 2007. That's 25 years. And Alabama during that time was basically some combination of Penn State, Michigan level, tons of 9-3 seasons, lost to Auburn more than they beat Auburn, would win a conference championship once to twice a decade. That's what they were doing.
One national title in that run.
One national title, Gene Stallings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember Gene Stallings, the very first game I covered full-time was the 95 Citrus Bowl loss to Alabama 24-17. And Stallings spoke with that drawl. It was hard to understand what he was saying. And he kept calling John Cooper Coach Cupper. I'm like, who the hell is this Cupper that he's talking about?
I was down south at the time covering Alabama football, so I was at all the Gene Stallings news conferences and interviewing the players on, I think it was on Tuesday. And actually, I still stands out to me, obviously, because I'm reciting it, that Gene Stallings was asked about Ohio State being intimidated playing Alabama. And Gene Stallings gave a great answer. He basically shook some people up to basically say, you're living in a silo to Ohio State. They're the Alabama up there. Like, they don't care about us, just like you don't care about them. You think we're this. Well, they think they're this. It's very comparable. They don't.
Cooper was on the
not a big deal
on
to
the
them.
verge of putting Ohio State back on top of the map at that point. Yeah, he was 1 or 2 years away from it.
One real quick last point on Luke Fickell. Not only do I think he can get them to the playoffs, I think he can get Cincinnati into the ACC or the Big 12 once we start getting into some realignment stuff. So there's that also to consider. If he wants to be a lifer there, it won't be in the AAC forever, I don't think.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 would be well suited to take Cincinnati. The TV market is roughly, Mark, you would know this better. I know Columbus is like the 32nd biggest TV market, and I think Cincinnati Dayton is comparable to that. But it also gets you into Ohio, which, is a football crazy place to where Big 12 games would now be watched a little bit more in the state of Ohio as well. I don't know. Texas and Oklahoma, and for those schools to care about Cincinnati a whole lot,
They got to care about West Virginia at this point.
Do they care about West Virginia a whole lot? I don't know that they do.
I can't think that they do, but West Virginia is doing a decent job in that league. They're a mid-tier team to
hanging tough.
upper tier.
Yeah.